I think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Unsubstantiated rumors, repeated with authority. That would have been a good move. I think I'm going to pull that card.
Yeah, I thought you were going to pull that on me today. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I just did. Anyway, it's August. It's that time again, ladies and gentlemen. It's
Is this a regular thing every year? I hope not.
No, yeah, this will be our third year. Third year of Avatar August. You never noticed? I even call it Avatar August.
Well, I know you do, but I just thought...
You thought I was...
I don't know what I thought.
So it's that time again where we largely cover books by Warren Ellis because, dear God, he did a lot of Avatar books. There's lesser lights and greater lights, but Warren did the most of them, and they're the easiest to get a hold of on the theft machine. So Warren gets a disproportionate amount of coverage, but we hope to change that. And today, a personal favorite of mine on the Extinction Agenda with James.
Chris.
There we go. Fantastic. Supergod.
Sounds like a stutter. Yeah.
Supergod from 2009, 2010, October 2009 to whenever 2010. Let's see. I got issue 5 here. I got the wraparound versions. October 2010. Oh my goodness. Oh, this thing came out real slow. Gary Gastoni needed some time to pump this shit out. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So before we get into the Supergod, I just want to kind of place this, just because it pleases me to do so, into like what was Warren up to at this time? At the time that this was being produced, he was writing a season of G.I. Joe cartoon called G.I. Joe Resolute, which I've never watched. Probably should watch that. And he was working in the Marvel Ultimates line. He was doing Ultimate Galactus Trilogy, Ultimate Human, Ultimate Iron Wars, and he's doing a ton of shit at Avatar, which I won't rhyme off, but it's a pretty long list. He's also written his first novel, Crooked Little Vein, and he's writing 3 newsletters. He's writing for Wired UK. He's writing for bleedingcool.com, and then he's got his own newsletter, Bad Signal, which I was subscribed to at the time, and proudly so. And so he's a busy man at this point.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's difficult to think that he was suffering from mental health issues. Anyway, yeah. So he's doing a lot at this time. And Supergod, I know you guys didn't much care for it, but this one tickles me because of how I feel about superheroes as a concept, which my very concept of superheroes is very much inflected through Warren Ellis. That's an influence that I don't think I'm ever going to shake, nor do I want to. So I don't know. Which one of you guys wants to take a big shit on this thing first?
You want to go, James?
No, that's okay. You guys go ahead. Can we have a rundown of the gods?
Sure. Do you want to do it, Chris, or I wrote them. I wrote down your name.
I'm gonna let you do it.
All right. I think Morrigan Lugus is the mushroom god. Mm-hmm. Krishna is from India, of course. A guy named Jerry Craven is the United States superpowered god.
Is the mushroom also from the United States?
No, he's British.
British, yeah. And Malak Al-Mut is an Iranian super god. I don't know how to pronounce this one. Maitreya from China. And Dajjal, who is from Iraq, but it's a U.S. contractor who had developed. He's kind of like a Dr. Manhattan sort of character. There was also the Russian guy, Purin or something like that. Yeah. I didn't write down his name. And those are the main characters of this story. And then our narrator is a scientist sort of monologuing at the end of the world. Simon,
British Colonel Sanders.
British Colonel. Let me take a look at him. Does that make sense? Yeah, I guess it does. doesn't
A little, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so basically the conceit is there was an arms race amongst the major superpowers to develop a god, like a literal god, not just a superhero, but a super, not a Superman, but a super god. And then basically the destruction of the world, which flows from that arms race. That's really it. And then everything else is just watching like Godzilla. It's like a Godzilla movie in many respects.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't get, I don't know. I guess you did get kind of Warren's usual sort of shock treatment too.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
There's some pretty gruesome shit in here. Ably illustrated by Mr. Gary Gastone. Absolutely.
Yeah, Gastone, I don't know. Like, he was a hit and miss.
Oh, yeah. Well, in typical Avatar fashion. I want to point out, though, that illustrated by Gary Gastone, like, there's no inker, there's no colorist. No, color by Digicore Studios. I take that back. But he's nonetheless doing sort of pencils and inks.
Yeah, it's definitely got that. What's our Nazi book?
Uber?
The Uber. Yeah, it's got that feel.
Yeah.
Art.
Yeah. That's Avatar's brand. I mean, every once in a while.
That might just be their coloring outsourcing that gives it that. I don't know.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Gives it that aesthetic.
Yeah, and they use really good paper stock. Like there's like these books would cost like half as much if they spent less money on production, or at least they'd be $1 less. I guess they were only $3.99 USD at the time. Anyway, it's all glossy.
Yeah, I like that paper.
Mm.
Lasts longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this was like, I don't know. I liked the scientists masturbating at the beginning. To the mushroom guy. I'm not really sure. Like are you gonna touch on like these like existential tones here, or you got big things to say about this?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No, not really. I know. I don't think. I think this is a lot of kind of whiz bang ideas that are it's a Godzilla book. You know, I don't. Obviously, it's about the dangers of mutually assured destruction from the arms race or whatever, and humanity's destructive infatuation with religion. You know, it's very in the same vein as Garth Ennis, where like religion, you know, and that's what Avatar is kind of really good for. Is that you want to make fun of religion, specifically Christianity, but anything else too, come on over to Avatar. You know,
it's true. They definitely let you write your own. Like that's why Warren probably loves it over there. It's because they just let him do his own thing.
Well, that was it. Yeah, okay, sorry, I'll go over the listing again. He was doing that Gravel series. He did Black Summer. That was just before this. He's doing Freak Angels during this, Anna Mercury, No Hero, Etheric Mechanics, Frankenstein's Womb. And that's just like, that's just around this era. You know, like there were still years of stuff prior to this. And
Jesus.
Yeah. I just thought it was significant that like the bulk of his output was shifted over to Avatar because he gets to own the property afterwards.
Yeah.
And let's see it. Is this a good idea?
No.
Any of this?
I don't think
Chris says no.
I see him riffing off the boys here. I see this being sort of like his, and that's not fair. Maybe he was doing stuff like this before. Yeah, but it just feels like a shot into that arena. Mm-hmm. And given the output that he was putting out, it makes a lot of sense. Because one thing I hated about this is that it's just like a monologue and like with very little actual dramatization. Mm-hmm. You got some fights and stuff like that, but it's a guy narrating like it's a fucking stoner, just like because he's smoking a joint high for whatever reason, for no for no particular reason. I don't even understand the frame of this, because he's like explaining all this to an American apparently who's a scientist who obviously would know all this shit because he's involved with creation of the American Supergod.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to nothing. Like, it's, I told the story, now I have to go and meet my god.
Yeah.
There's no point to it.
Yeah. Like to the framing device. I was thinking that. I was thinking like, and so I flipped it on its head while I was thinking on it. I was like, yes, I can see how that's a major failing to this, and I don't deny it. But I think it's also Warren leaning into one of his strengths. Maybe you view it as a strength, maybe not. Like, it's a failed framing device. I concede that. But he's a very good monologue. He's a good lecturer. He likes to, his work is very didactic. And so he was like, this he's just like, well, I'll just lean into the didacticism of my of this story, and because it's about all these gods that ostensibly we cannot understand, we just get that like really, really removed after the fact kind of rendering of the story at altitude.
So that's where we're gonna disagree. Like, that's our fault line here, because I hate the didacticism. I think that's why I increasingly hate Warren Ellis. Because maybe he leaned into this a lot in his later career.
Yeah, I think so. I think he in works like Injection, which is the last work that happened before he got canceled, and that one seemed to be veering back towards, like, I thought it was very strong. Okay. Like, I don't think Warren's ever.
Like that,
he's not a top flight writer. I don't come to Warren for that. If I came to Warren for that, I would be like, if that was the meal I was looking for, I would be hungry.
That's
like
fair.
eternally hungry. Yeah. So yeah, that's perfectly fair. Like, you guys referred to this in our chat as obnoxious, and you're not wrong. This is however, I don't see it as The Boys exactly, although he does have a giant penis throw basically a giant sperm made out of humans into space.
That's right.
And maybe I'm just being pedantic here, but like, The Boys is about making fun of Marvel and DC and the superhero industrial complex of like comics. It's explicitly about that, and just like taking all these things and taking its seriousness and making it carnivalesque, and then killing all of them. I think that's true. Yeah, this is very much like, I thought of Alan Moore's Miracle Man, like the sort of huge violence that occurs when in like the later issues. I don't know if either of you have been able to, but it's in that vein, like, where these unknowable, overpowered beings just destroy an entire city, just leave it in rubble, and like illustrated in very minute fashion with a brutality, sort of a British Judge Dredd kind of brutality, like sense of brutality, which I think this has that. And but instead of any sort of like perverting of a childhood property, or male power fantasy, this is like, it's Warren attempting to scratch his faux sci-fi techno garble itch.
Yes.
And like, he is thinking it through. He's using real concepts, but like, I'll share your word, obnoxious effect. You're like, you don't need all these words. Like, people don't. This sci-fi sheen that you put on this, like, it doesn't really add anything to it.
That's just it. Yeah. I think, and like, that's actually one of the most damning things I think about it. I mean, I think he is a guy who reads a ton and like popular science things, and kind of absorbs it and then secretes it, and that's fine. It's interesting to look back at it like 10 years later and see like some of the stuff feels even a little bit dated or of the moment. Not the AI stuff, like Krishna is an AI supercomputer. That's pretty on point for even the current discussion, right? But I could not help but think about how, and maybe this is a bit unfair, but one of the accusations against him is that he would try to use like hypnosis on women,
right?
And just being one of these guys who like puts out trigger words and kind of like talks at you and intones at you until you're sort of like under his sway. And I just could not help but thinking about this flow of words and this like sort of nonsense pseudoscience is exactly that, as just sort of like being pummeled into submission just to accept like this stupid story.
Yeah.
To think that he's smart.
Pardon me. Yeah.
That's hurtful.
Well, here's an example of what you're like when talking about Krishna.
I'm just kidding.
A clone designed body infected with tailored bacteria that excrete metal, controllable by the AI net so that it could grow its own circuitry. And he rose, taking in as much information as the world had. And then it goes on or whatever. But just like that, like, yeah, there's some cool stuff buried in those words that could, like a bacteria that and it's probably, from popular science headlines, just like you said, Chris. But a body designed with tailored bacteria that excrete metal. We don't see that with this. He's just blue. Like he's got like a.
This is like a blue dude. Yeah, and isn't there like sort of a like, and then to give you that like that pseudoscience and deliver like what Chris was saying, this over the top verbiage, so that you're like you say, you feel like slightly conned into believing, wow, this is very smart, this is over my head, and then to have it just be underhandedly racist about the population of India.
Yes. This book is very comfortable stereotyping, absolutely.
Grimy, real nice one. But I and then like you said, and then it turned into like an absolute gnarly Godzilla fight while this guy's like stripping down, high as fuck.
Just constantly taking drugs,
magic pills. It's pretty awesome. And then, but then the blue guy comes back around and he's taking care of the last 10% of the Indian population.
I like
with
that
with his blue utopia. But then his blue utopia also has like, I don't know, like machine gun sperm shots or whatever to destroy the Cthulhu penis.
Oh yeah. As it would.
Yeah, it was a lot. But his mini bugs exploded the head, and then he wears like a skin scarf. This is all without any kind of dialogue or writing. He just leaves it to this half-ass artist who also I feel like had the subtext to make this gorier than it was and didn't. It's very lipstick, like it's got a lot of gloss over it.
There are moments like I'm watching. I just want to point out something that you said. Like this final issue has very few words. So Warren may be, hitting us with a bunch of verbiage, but like in the final crescendo, he pulls back because he invented the modern. I don't know if he invented it, but he definitely popularized like that big screen.
That's true.
Like wide action as even he referred to it. Authority type action, like all that stuff is, all those skills, those basic Warren Ellis skills are in play here. It's not, I think it would be an utter failure if it was just like walls of text, but he's sort of, he even knows when to break up the walls of text, like after the blue thing, with the metal, bacteria excreting metal, then we cut for a moment. We always cut back to Redden, the British Colonel Sanders, and he's, just so he can like smoke a joint or shoot an Uzi at some fellow stragglers or something like that, and then he'll bring us back into the action. So like he does control the pacing in this in a competent fashion, even if you don't like the work. There's he's still doing stuff. There was something else though. Sorry, I got fixated on that. Damn it. The violence. The Krishna, when Krishna first shows up and starts like destroying India, like I'm looking at him pointing at a woman and like her body's on fire, but it just looks like a woman, like it just looks like a woman screaming, like with little flames coming off of her. But I'm not seeing what I ought to see. Like charred flesh and fucked up, like you kind of get that later when the Chinese Supergod shows up and like they want him to kill all those prisoners, but then he mutilates all the bodies of the Chinese
I'm looking
soldiers.
at that right now, and it's a prime example of the sort of like the word salad technique, but forced to meditate upon his own atomic structure until he can perceive the quantum foam of every particle of his being birthing and annihilating under uncertainty principle. And then like just you turn the page and it's that dose of silence. He's like freaks out an electrical storm and like explodes everybody's head scanner style. And then like mute just merges everyone's flesh into this like fucking
that's the penis
brain probe. Yeah, that is okay. Yeah, you're gonna call it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The fuck?
They called it a self-supporting worm-like structure. and this artist, like he drew a dick. Like Warren basically told him to draw a dick and then draw a sperm firing off. But you don't there's something like comics code about this, even though it's obviously not. But
it's just I don't know. There's like just so much. It just seemed like there were punches pulled somehow. Like like it ended up cartoony. And if I think it was like a little more and I mean it's not like the artist's not capable of it. Look at these fucking cityscapes and disasters that he sat in his little laboratory. Hey, do you have the issue with the Last Supper on it? Sorry, side swerve.
I do. Yeah.
Real nice, real classy.
The covers are great. Anyway. I think that's the best part of this thing. There's that one that's kind of like a Norman Rockwell painting of the American guy. I think it's the third issue.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Anyway, I just think the artist was probably capable of it, and they didn't do it. It could have been. They did it. Sorry, they did it. There are grotesqueries, absolutely, and maybe it was muted a little bit to save for those little magic moments. I don't know, but I just feel like the whole thing just could have been absolute nightmare.
That's Avatar. Again, I think that's just Avatar brand. Like I don't know who this guy is, this Gary Gastonia guy, but he doesn't have a career after this. And he didn't have a career before it, like not in comics. And we've seen this before. Like they find someone who has, I'll say, a talent. There's something here that could have been, like, because those cityscapes are like in the first issue when you turn the page and London's all burned and fucked up.
This guy's got chops. I've seen some Flash comics way worse than this shit.
Yeah. And so Avatar finds these people, but then like maybe like there's two possibilities. One, the experience is just so rotten that they never come back. But I fear actually though that there's something of like a blacklisting, like not a blacklisting, but like Marvel's not going to want someone whose previous work was at Avatar. Jason Burrows accepted. Well, I guess one who's a rip as well, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure. So it's half-assed talent who have like a little bit of a flash, a little bit of the mojo, but they.
I want to see the rip version of this.
Oh yeah, well I would love to. Yeah, I would like to see. It wouldn't make the story itself any better, but at least it would. It might elevate it in the way that good art will elevate any shitty comic.
Did the purple guy come in and just say, and I have to say, all but one are so boring that I cannot stand to live through them. His
the Dr. Manhattan guy, yeah,
just blows them all up. Is that what he does? I feel like he just blows up his own story because it was just a bunch of garbage ideas.
That's that's possible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the. I don't know what to make of this. I want to go back to what you were saying about this book being backhanded racist. Because ultimately Britain's God wins. Obviously it's very nihilistic. It's the mushroom god. It's the mushroom at the end of the world, which is also a little more prescient than, that concept. That book wouldn't exist for probably another decade or so or less.
And the white naked son of the mushroom god baptizes himself at the end. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm taking.
That's interesting. Interesting. But so it's but it's basically Britain versus India, and that I don't know if Warren realizes that's what he's done.
And the Americans are just a little queer.
I guess so. Yeah, yeah. And like it's because it's two American projects that show up at the end. Like one shows up, Jerry Craven, who he just ends up making out with Krishna,
Which
and then
is
the other one,
no harm done there.
yeah, yeah. Because he's just like, I want to join your heaven. Like I want to convert.
I thought that was like the best twist in the book, because I thought I was going to see another slobber knocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a synthesis at that moment. And then, but the other American project, the Dr. Manhattan project out of Afghanistan or Iraq, he just blows everything up. And I don't know if, like, the thing is, Chris, this gets back to what Chris is saying. Like, this isn't smart. Like, what does any of that mean? Like, what do I read out of that? Like, what does that synthesis mean, and what does the destruction of that synthesis mean, and what does it mean that it's India and America? And I don't know. Like, I don't think Warren doesn't give us any tools to like think further than this. It is like what you said, James. It just comes to an abrupt stop.
And to add to that, there's sort of like this. It gets ridiculous because each of these super gods is really the avatar of a nation. Like even the plan that our narrator hatches is to send in their god to remove them from the cave, where they have like sort of dampeners to prevent the effects of the mushrooms overwhelming people, the spores or whatever, and to bring him out into the open so that he can negotiate with Krishna and whatever other gods show up. And he's like, well, and then we can form pacts with them, and it would be great. And so it's basically just like all world politics gets reduced to a single avatar, and it just kind of becomes a bit like Street Fighter-esque or Mortal Kombat or some shit. Like they're literally duking it out in these sort of like epic brawls. But even like when Jerry like is sent in to take in the Russian guy, and he's like, he like rips knocks his head off, like it's like like a fatality.
Yeah.
And that's like that's the intellectual level that it kind of like comes down to.
Yeah,
that's true.
And yeah, and on the one hand, I mean, I think that's what I like. I like this book. I like the moxie of it. I like that it maybe it gets at some of what you were saying, Chris, where you compared it to The Boys. Like it's similar to The Boys, not in that it wants to take superheroes and reveal them to be absurd or self-destructive. This idea that and I do, I'm always gonna appreciate that, and I'm also always gonna appreciate when anytime a super powered creature punches through the skull of a human, I'm there. Like that's what I want to see. Like, because you can't get that anywhere else. You're not gonna get that anywhere else.
I can't pretend to hate that.
That's true. Also, Avatar. If you can say one thing about Avatar books, they've got balls.
True.
Yeah. And this was the place. This was the place to do this, and I love the brazenness of it, and the I'll just be frank, nihilism of it. It's so like it's so hopeless, and so grim, and like needlessly so, because it's stupid, like you say, Chris. Like there is no politics here. There sort of is in the like the sense of the great power, the great game, and arms races, and if you want to be charitable to the book, you can like I said, it's about mutually assured destruction in a nuclear age. It's about the stupidity.
It's about the stupidity of placing faith in nations, because it's ultimately not going to be about you. It's ultimately going to turn on you. If you want to be charitable.
Yeah. Which the book doesn't invite any of that charity. It is not asking for alms. It wants you to show up and watch the robots fight. Because even like because when Krishna fights the Chinese god Maitreya, like James, I think you already said, like it turns into like Cthulhu, and then they shoot spikes at each other, and like it's just
bees.
very yeah, and bees.
Yeah.
So there's the bees with the dogs with their bees in their mouths, so the bees sting you while they're biting. And he is sort of ratcheting up things, like when one of them gets thrown into the moon and it fucking punches a hole through the moon.
But to no consequence for the Earth.
Well, meteors fall.
That's true. Meteors fall. Yeah, okay, you're right.
But that's just like 2 pages. Like that's 2 pages. Holy fuck! Like there's just so much happening here.
Yeah.
It just happens at a tremendous pace, and then it's like it's not even a Deus Ex Machina ending, because it's no one's saved. It's kind of the opposite of that. I don't know what the devil comes.
I liked to go against what I said about like the word salad. I did enjoy that the concept. I thought that was actually kind of clever. The way that because he perceives just constantly different timelines, and so he knows to head towards the ones that aren't darkened, and that's like he doesn't even have like a real like sense of consciousness like we would. It's just sort of like moving towards various lights. And then that idea that like the desire for simplicity, like because there are too many possibilities and other things. So it's just like he shuts down. The ultimate way to shut that down and to simplify things is just to like destroy the world.
Actually, there's something trippy that happens there that I think, this is one of those situations where like something even cool, like James already said this too, like if the art was better, cooler. And then even when Dajjal or whatever, the Dr. Manhattan type guy, there's a point where all of a sudden he becomes the narrator in the middle of issue 3, and he starts talking to us in a way that the other things don't, and he intersects.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, they just let me out. No, I can't see you, but I know you're there listening. I can see time, and it's sort of a Grant Morrison type thing.
Yeah.
And it comes in and it's like an interesting Dr. Manhattan, Grant Morrison type effect, and then it becomes nothing. There's there's too many ideas here.
Well, technically he ends the story.
Well, not even technically. You're right about that, but in what way is that satisfying? Like what does...
Oh, it was satisfying.
Yeah. It's just like that. There's no one to like. There's no relationship between him and the doctor that could. Not that they have to like fall in love. I don't need melodrama for this, but something like Chris was saying about. He's talking to that Tommy guy who's another scientist in a bunker elsewhere, but we never see Tommy. Theoretically, he never speaks to Tommy at all, and that's just a weird conceit. And he's just crazy, talking to no one at the end of the world.
Well, I like that.
Yeah,
it's a possibility.
Yeah, it doesn't make any, but even that doesn't, it just doesn't make any sense. And so, maybe there could have been something between him and the Dr. Manhattan guy, some sort of narrative back and forth as this individual talks about the morality of mass destructive weapons or something and flipping around in time. This could have been structured better. This could have been more deeper, more interesting. But instead, it's Street Fighter, it's Mortal Kombat, and it's a send up to superheroes a la Miracle Man with an Avatar budget.
And maybe taking on 20 comics at once and writing a novel leads to a dip in the quality.
It's possible. He's clearly doing too much work at this time, because he's just kind of repeating himself across media. I've never tried to read any of his novels. I don't think I ever will. I mean, I do enjoy his prose style, but yeah, I like how Warren writes. I don't always like what Warren writes. that's a different thing. I can sort of separate the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Supergod.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Just like
yeah.
just like scientists bowing to their mushroom god, this is Warren Ellis jerking off for profit.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.